Hey everyone, Joey here again with another quickie DIY video for you all. And I wanted to thank a great many of you who've been writing me and messaging and commenting about these little videos that I've been making. And thank you for encouraging me to make more. It's a great pleasure, and I'm glad that some of you are finding takeaways from these thoughts that I'm sharing. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, this is what I want to say. Instant gratification is a real thing, and we've been born and raised in it, and it's not going away anytime soon, if ever. The genie's out of the bottle. So, how is it that in the midst of our instant gratification culture, that there are certain people that have the patience to go through rigorous training in order to get really masterful at what they do? The answer is fairly obvious. It's because they're willing to do it poorly. Yeah, they're willing to do it poorly in the beginning and have this beginner's mind, even if they've been training for years and they're good or great at what they're doing. They still have that capability of being at whatever level life wants to hand you right now in the moment. It might not be as good as you did it yesterday. It might be better, but from moment to moment, from day to day, you don't know. So, yeah, it's pretty common to see people who are trying something new give up way too soon. And it's because they don't fully understand the patience factor that's involved and required to do something at a basic level of proficiency, much less a mastery level. The ego hates making mistakes, doesn't it? It just whatever it does. So, and then there are certain people who are very gifted in dealing with the boredom and whatever the patience necessary in the repetition of training motor skills or memorizing things. But this is not a skill that a person is necessarily born with. This can be learned. It can be learned by just about anybody. And I want to say that not one individual is touched by God or I, chosen to excel over other people and become some prophetic person in their field. They work their asses off to get there and they seem to enjoy the journey. So, growing up with instant gratification has greatly eroded our ability and willingness to be patient in the process. You know, also micro entertainment. It's also contributed to this decay, especially in regards to having undivided, focused attention. So it's kind of a different topic, but it's a factor in it. So there needs to be a willingness to surrender and an openness to receiving the right kind of input and information that will lead us into our greatness. This is why the world's greatest athletes and performers still have private coaches looking at them. And nowadays we have so many great online resources, so many of them are for free, for developing the mind and the patience and concentration skills. So, but once again, as I often reiterate, it's the individual who has to make the decision. And for so many, that decision does not happen easily. Us humanoids do not like change for some mysterious reason. Or maybe it's not mysterious. Maybe it has to do with the neural pathways in our brains, most likely. So, but the change typically occurs when a person is so sick and tired of where they are, whether it's being stuck or whatever, that they're willing to finally just change. And we commonly see this in people who have been addicts finding sobriety, but we don't need to be addicts or stuck in a rut in order to be willing to change and develop new skills. The thing is that we need to be joyous in, and that's a choice, to be joyous in the process and move forward with courage, you know? I don't know if you've read this, raise your hands if you have, or write in Atomic Habits by James Clear. Okay, it's all about developing new habits and the mindset that is involved. And he talks about like when a person's developing a new habit, that they should only do it for a couple minutes, and it should be at the same time every day when they're first doing it, instead of trying to bite off some big block of time. And it seems that when it's approached this way and the time becomes expanded as you go, there's a much higher rate of success. And so that method takes a lot of mental pressure off, and it's just an easier way to approach things. He talks about this is why so many people fail at their New Year's resolutions, because they're not approaching the new habit and routine correctly. So, in my own personal journey, I've come to discover that in order to become the type of person that, or player, if you will, that I wish to be, I need to modify my mindset and modify my behavioral patterns. So, reading books like Atomic Habits are really helpful, but these are the kind of books that need to be reread over and over so that the messaging can be really internalized and implemented. And so, um, my quest for improving my musical skills has led me to see and acknowledge one of my greatest fault lines, and that is a lack of continual concentration while I'm performing. So, aside from working on my technical facility, it became very clear that I need to strengthen my focus and my capability of staying mentally centered, especially in front of an audience. And this is how I finally found Dr. Don Green, who's a master performance teacher and a trainer for Olympic athletes and concert level soloists in orchestras. I found it through a website called The Bulletproof Musician, which is an awesome website. So, a lot of you know that I play a weekly wine bar gig up here in Astoria, where I live, and it's just a solo guitar gig. And I took the gig, well, I call it my distraction training. And I took the gig because, well, there's a lot of noise in this bar. Okay, a lot of conversations going on, and my intention was to really build a level of concentration and execution amidst all of the kind of ambient noise. And also, hearing people's conversations and my tendency to like lean in sometimes on the table closest by me and like, hey, what are they talking about? And still be able to play or bring myself back to where I am and not fall prey to the distraction. So, and then oh, there's my alarm. Okay, once in a while the bar gets slow and there's just a few people in it for a little while, and then for some reason that's when everyone pays the most attention to me and all eyes are on me. And then I came to realize, oh man, this is a whole other kind of skill set, because it's not, there's one type of skill set of playing within, all the distractions, but then there's a whole other skill set when everyone's being quiet and completely, has undivided attention on you. Then you have to deliver in this whole other way. So anyway, it's fun, and it's really healthy for me to be doing this, because I don't have anyone to lean on. I don't have any bandmates. It's all on me to play everything with real authority and command over my instrument. So fortunately, I'm not playing for an audience that are discerning jazz fans. They enjoy what I do, and I don't think they ever detect whether I make a little mistake once in a while or something, which takes a lot of pressure off. But I want rock solid delivery, come hell or high water, and this is why I began searching out people like Don Green. So something interesting that he said in one of his interviews is that there are two types of practicing. One is practicing new material and the repetition involved in learning a new piece. And then the other type of practice is what he called performance practice, where you're practicing performing the piece from front to back without losing your focus. And this was very helpful in like clarifying what am I going to do when I'm going into my practice lab? Am I going to practice a new piece, or am I going to practice performing the piece? So, part of my own journey has been that I was largely self-taught for many years until I hit my 20s. And even after having a lot of formal training, I'm still finding new things that I need to hone in on to become more skilled at what I want to do. So without a trustworthy mentor or coach to put a second set of eyes on you and see what you're doing, it's not easy to see the forest from the trees and really know what areas need the most work. So as I continue down my path, I do see more and more of these fault lines and how to address them. But, sometimes I wish I, would have addressed them a lot earlier in my journey here. So, and I suppose most people who pursue a higher performance level experience that similar thought process. But, that's where the rubber meets the road, right? There's no takebacks. There's no room for regret because you can't take back the past. You can only move forward. So sometimes moving forward requires a huge tearing down of your foundation in order to build a much more rock solid structure in house, or sometimes it's just a minor habit tweak, but it requires a lot of time and repetition to get that thing that you want to do so badly. So either way, if you're not willing to do the new thing poorly in the beginning, you're never gonna get to a point of doing it very well, plain and simple. And so surrender is the key to it all. If you can bring yourself to surrender to the truth of your current level of skill and be at peace with it, then that's half the battle. You won half the battle, but the other half is finding the pleasure in the process as you move closer and closer towards your greatness. So from looking at a lot of different people who are masters in their craft, listening to interviews or reading books about people, the common thing they all seem to share is that they are perpetual students, or they were if they're not alive anymore. I mean, they're people that just keep going for the next level or studying or getting more information about what they do. And it's so refreshing. It's inspiring. So that's about all I have for today. I thank you all for watching, especially those who've made it all the way to the end. And feel free to write in, comment, share, like, subscribe, and all that groovy jazz. And I'll see you on the flip side. Ciao for now.